Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're looking at the second instalment in Classic Week, and hopefully you've watched the first Doctor's video. If not, that's fine, you can pick and choose. But today we're looking at the Patrick Troughton era, or the second Doctor's era. And basically I'm going to be going through what do I think of his Doctor, what do I think of his companions, some of my favourite villains from his time, some of my favourite stories from his time, and some of my least favourite stories from his time as the Doctor. So let's kick off without further ado with the man himself, Patrick Troughton. What do I think of the second Doctor? Now, I love the second Doctor. I think he's about second, third, or fourth on my Doctor ranking that I did about a month ago now. Now, he is outwardly warm, bumbling, and clownish, but I do believe that he had a darker personality that isn't always present, but maybe this was so he could keep hidden his plans. I don't know, but I do believe there is something quite dark in the second Doctor's era, not just because it was in black and white, but tonally dark. Now, I love him so much. He's so warm. He's like a crazy uncle that you never had. Whereas with the first Doctor, he was a bit like a grandfather. So Patrick Troughton did an excellent job, and probably, again, the biggest risk because he had to follow on from William Hartnell and be so different. So Patrick Troughton, again, big respect. Moving on to his companions now. We have obviously the wonderful Ben and Polly, Victoria, Zoe, and Jamie. So who do we start with? I think let's just start with Ben and Polly, as they were the first. I love Ben and Polly so much. They're so warm, very 60s indeed, and I just think they're just cool companions. They're not going to be like classics, are they? But if you just want a light-hearted companion duo, occasionally with Jamie, that's great. They just do their job, and they're really solid companions in my opinion. Victoria, I think we'll go up to next. Yeah, she's very delightful. I think she was only in a season 5, or maybe, yeah, season 5, but she's great. Again, I think she's almost quite underrated. I love her in Tomb of the Cybermen, Enemy of the World, Web of Fear. I'm trying to think what else she's in. The Ice Warriors, of course. Just a great companion who has some great stories, and the chemistry between Jamie and the Doctor, just top notch. Zoe, again, the final sort of proper 60s companion. She does an excellent job as well. Really enjoy Zoe. She's like a little genius, and she's just quite awesome, isn't she? As she does really well in the Crotons, I think. I don't know why that story stands out for me, but she had a star role in that story, so we'll get to that story a bit later on though. And she's just great, and in the War Games as well, it's one of my favourite stories of all time, and she's brilliant in that. So Wendy Padbury does an amazing job at Zoe. And finally, I've sort of left the best till last here. We've got Jamie McCrimmon. Now, this is something that the show never had done before. A sort of Scottish male, really strong companion. Probably one of my favourite from the 60s, if not my favourite. I think he's just brilliant. He stays during Patrick Troughton's entire tenure, apart from his first story, Power of the Daleks, and rightly so. The chemistry he has with Ben, Polly, the second Doctor, Victoria, and Zoe, he's seen them all, and he's definitely one of my favourite companions of all time, and it's brilliant. So all the companions in the second Doctor's era are just amazing, so big hats off to all of them. Now we move on to some of my favourite villains from the second Doctor's era. Now this is quite cool because I think he had some brilliant villains, so it was really hard to sort of whittle it down to about 5, but I did. So first of all, we've got the Cybermen. Now I'm including the Cybermen on this Doctor's video and this Doctor's video alone because I feel like the second Doctor and the Cybermen, they just work so well together. He definitely encountered them more than any other Doctor, and they're so iconic. I think they're just so creepy, so brilliant, and I would hate to have to encounter some Cybermen because they're just so menacing and so creepy and robotic. Or I much prefer these looks to what we've got today, I would say. Next we've got the Yeti. Again, the Abominable Snowman is missing, but from what we've seen from clips and books, they're just, again, really creepy, and obviously they're in the Web of Fear, where they're great. They're just very creepy, chunky badasses. And now we got the Ice Warriors. Again, obviously they did something right to return in the new era. They're just so creepy again, and cool, and the design of them is really good, and they're just a highlight for me in the Second Doctor's era. I love an Ice Warrior story. Then we got the Croutons. Again, an underrated story in my opinion, but definitely one that needs watching. I watched this one about a year ago. Really good. A very solid Second Doctor story. Nothing amazing, but the Croutons, they sound like South African people, and it's just quite funny really, so give the Croutons a watch if you haven't already. And then we've got the Warlord and the War Chief, and I have watched the War Games literally a day after I recorded my top 10 stories of all time, and oh my god, I regret it so much. Why did I not put the War Games in the top 10? I don't know. But these guys are so creepy, and the Time Lords, and it's like, ugh. I am the Warlord and the War Chief, and give the War Games a watch. I mean, I'm sure you all have watched the War Games, but if you haven't, literally go away, stop this video and purchase it now. Thank you. So now we're moving on to some of my favourite stories from the Patrick Troughton era, and obviously we have the War Games because it's amazing. Tomb of the Cybermen, absolutely brilliant, 10 out of 10. Enemy of the World, again, such a brilliant story. It feels like a James Bond movie. The Macra Terror and the Faceless Ones, both relatively new releases, but brilliant releases. They're just so awesome. Patrick Troughton looks great in animation, and I'm so glad we're finally getting these stories in animated form. Now, to pick some of my least favourite from this, to pick some of my least favourite stories from this era, I found incredibly tough. Patrick Troughton has such a consistent era, in my opinion, but I only managed to pick two: the Dominators and the Underwater Menace. I mean, could I, even these stories aren't awful, but they're definitely the most flawed in the Patrick Troughton era. I feel like the Dominators, it's an odd 5-parter, and it had some pacing issues, I think, and the Quarks weren't amazing. And the Underwater Menace, again, it was a bit drawn out. It had a whole sequence just swimming, and I was, it's quite a tough one to watch, I'd say. But again, they're not awful. So there we have it, the Patrick Troughton era in a nutshell. Some of my favourite stories and some of my least favourite stories. There you go. I would love to hear your thoughts on the Second Doctor's era down in the comments below, and I'd really appreciate it if you could give this video a like. I have put quite a lot of time putting these slides together, and hopefully it's been a success for you. So like I said, I'd love to hear what are your favourite I can't talk today. What are some of your favourite stories from the Second Doctor era? Do you like this era? Favourite companion? Give me a little a lowdown. So I want to thank you all very much for watching this video, and don't forget to tune in tomorrow where we're going to be looking at the Jon Pertwee era. Bye for now.